My name is Professor Atul K. Shah. I'm a member of staff at Bayes Business School. And today I have had the honor of bringing my boss, Professor Andre Spicer, who is the Executive Dean of the Bayes Business School at City St. George's University. Andre, thank you so much for taking the time out to come and see our community on its own terms. Mm-hmm. Jains have been students at City University for over 50 years. Mm-hmm. and qualified in a variety of professions from there, for actuarial science, accounting, banking, finance, law, and even pharmacy. We also have Jains who are members of staff at City University, apart from me. Rakhi Shah used to be an ophthalmology lecturer, an award-winning ophthalmology lecturer. Anjali is doing fantastic work in coaching students about a growth mindset, and many other members of staff. So tell us a little bit about what it feels as a pioneering educator, a leader, and somebody who is passionate and writes about culture and organization. Mm-hmm. What does it feel like to go into one of the oldest living cultures of the world, but alive and vibrant right here in a big city of London? And what kind of messages are you taking from this experience?
Well, first of all, I think the most important thing is that we've been a place where Jains have come to for over 50 years for education to build their business acumen. And then many of those people have gone on to have very successful business careers, chairs of large professional service firms, bankers, people in the insurance industry and so on. So clearly we have a very tight relationship with good relationship with the community over the years. But I understand this is the first time as a business school, one of the business school deans has actually come out here to Potter's Bar to actually experience the community on its own terms.
We had a chance to go and visit the temple, which is behind us, to see the beautiful architecture, which both represents a sort of spiritual life inside and the worldly life outside.
We also got an opportunity to join for a meal. And that was a very simple meal, but very delicious with a balance of flavors. What I found over that meal was a few things which were important. One was a sense of connection and community with people from all different age groups, all different stages of life, all different backgrounds. The second thing was the respect for knowledge. So I found that there was an opportunity over the meal to sort of swap knowledge, both about things which were sort of normal business things, but also things about sort of spiritual life and broader questions about meaning and the meaning of things like corporations and business. And then the final thing is just a sense of enjoyment, a sense of being part of a group, enjoying beautiful food together and meeting new people.
Some of the things which we've tried to do at Bayes really reflect some of the aspects of the spirit of sort of Jainism and some of the philosophies. Number one, I think, is challenging some of our deeply held ideas about how business might be done, realizing that it's not just about short-term mindset, but it has a longer-term intention. The second thing is not just educating people in kind of technical skills. Yes, those are very important, but also looking at the kind of broader soft skills and questions about character. So one thing I've learned today is the importance of this kind of self-control, and kind of those kind of self-discipline and so on being an important part of Jainism. And I think that's an important thing which we try and sort of impart on our students. The third thing I think which was really interesting is this global mindset. So Jains as a community have kind of moved across the world and prospered across the world across many centuries. And I think that that's reflective of our student base and the kind of mindset, the global mindset, which we try and instill into them. So I was just speaking with one of the vice chairmen here, who I understand runs teams really across the world, and he probably uses that mindset to be able to manage these teams across the world. The final thing I think, which is really important for our students, is this touch of, yes, knowledge is important, but you have to be able to put that into practice. And what I saw here was that importance of taking, philosophies of life, religious insights, and actually putting that into practice to make a difference to people's lives. I think that's what we try to inculcate into our students at Bayes. So it seems that there's this nice kind of reflection and meshing of some of the things which we're trying to do and many of the ancient precepts of this community.
Wow. Thank you, Alan. And looking at the Jains as a living culture with strong roots in respect for each and every living being, what do you think about the potential for Jain science and philosophy to influence the world and the wider world at a time when it is battling with climate change, with inequality, with war and anxiety and significant disruption in society?
Well, I think one thing I'd say is at Bayes we have a centre which is focused very much on these topics, which is this ethos, the Centre for Responsible Enterprise. We've also identified a series of research themes across the school which touch on these themes, one being kind of social responsibility in business, another one being kind of the transforming world, which is about geopolitics. Now, if I then think about the role which Jainism and other kind of religious traditions might play, is that there are many insights which can be brought in, not just from business practices across the years, but I have also within those communities, but also I think some of the insights from, the philosophy. So before you and I were having a very interesting discussion about whether you can see various religious practices as a form of risk management, right? So there are people who today talk about the idea of existential risks, and in many ways, religious practices offer you ways of managing some of those existential risks, but also I think kind of some of the personal risks that people might have, whether that's around health, whether that's around relationships, whether that's around sort of, I don't know what you might call it, sort of personal development, and those kind of things.
And Bayes is world famous for its finance, science and research. And the Jains are one of the world's leading finance communities and one of the oldest and most successful finance communities in the world. So can you see the potential for merging those two kind of approaches and ideas, and at the same time, given how sustainable finance and the city of London itself, which is where the Bayes Business School is located, is battling with these kinds of issues and challenges, that there is significant potential for these kinds of dharmic philosophies, cultures, and indigenous traditions to show the world a different way of doing business, a different way of taking the whole person to work or to school, not just looking at people as commodities or as robots or as students on an assembly line, but students who come with culture, who come with conscience, who come with values, and who come with discipline, and that the role of education becomes then a place of connection between some of the new learnings and some of the traditional indigenous knowledges.
So one thing which we're trying to do with our financial degrees is not just educating technical skills, but increasingly adding in bits which are about more sort of personal communication and also character building. So we, for instance, run a module on critical thinking for our finance students, and we're looking at broadening that education because we know that that's what employers often want, is not just the technical skills, but the other things. Now, the other thing which is worthwhile saying is that the research in this area, particularly in accounting, is often there's a desire to go back and look at other forms of accounting practices across time, and looking at, say, financing practices and accounting practices which are outside of the traditional data sets which we've studied. And I think studying, for instance, the history of Jain finance and those kind of insights would provide ways of sort of pushing the boat forward a little bit.
Thank you.